I remember when I was little, I used to think, I wish I was a boy. When my mom used to try to put dresses on me for picture day and curl my hair, I would constantly say, I wish I was a boy, so I didn't have to do all this.
What did your mum say?
She would just scream at me and say, you're a little girl, don't ever say that again.
And how does she feel about this?
She started crying when I mentioned having surgery to remove my breasts. She didn't cry when I told her that I was transgender, but when I told her that I was having top surgery, she cried. She said, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I said, yes. This is what will make me happy. And she said, okay.
Top Cat's Pride, bringing to you the unusual but factual and oftentimes ignored and controversial wild news, keeping you in the know while you're on the go. And now, your wild news reporter, Pate. Welcome to the Wild News Report. Here's a very odd story that I want to share with you, although this subject matter is becoming pretty much mainstream here during the latter parts of 2000. This particular article is from March 15th, 2017, but it originally hit the mainstream news during January 2017 on the 13th. A transgender mother and son from Detroit, Michigan, in the United States are transitioning together to become father and son. Let me say that again. A transgender mother and son from Detroit, Michigan, in the U.S. are transitioning together to become father and daughter. Corey Mason, or Myson, last name spelled M-A-I-S-O-N, and I know that word could be pronounced both ways, so I'm going to say Mason. Corey Mason, 15, who is a biological male and who identifies now as a female, said he first identified as female 4 years ago, and that would be in 2013 or late 2012, but did not learn that his mother also struggled with gender identity. The mother and son are transitioning from their biological sexes to the opposite sex, and the teen has documented his journey on Instagram, along with some stories and pictures and so forth from the mother who is transitioning to a male, to a father, and the two interviewed with Australia's 60 Minutes show, a journalist TV show, to share their stories. Corey said, I wanted to make my parents proud of who I am, but I thought they would not like me. Corey said about his decision to come out as a transgender. Eric Mason, who used to be Erica Mason, is a biological female who identifies now as a male. And Eric was emboldened by Corey's decision. Eric said it was an emotional decision she had to make. The first feeling was relief. The second was terror, Eric said. Fear for what my future would hold. Fear for how my family and children would. Fear for what the rest of my life was going to look like. Now, as I said, Eric used to be Erica, and Erica underwent a double mastectomy and said she plans to stay with her husband Les, spelled L-E-S, who supports the transition. Now, a mastectomy, spelled M-A-S-T-E-C-T-O-M-Y, is a medical term for the surgical removal of one or both breasts, partially or completely. Mastectomies are usually carried out to treat breast cancer, and there are 5 different types of mastectomies. One type is simple or total. The other type, 2, is modified radical. The third type is radical. The fourth type is partial and subcutaneous, according to my research. Now, as far as the husband goes, he said that I fell in love with the person. She was a beautiful woman, but equally beautiful on the inside, Les Mason said. And he also added, as long as Eric, who used to be Erica, his wife, is happy with his appearance, Eric will be happy with what's in her brain, or as he said, his brain, which obviously tells me that he is still a bit confused and still in a bit of a transitioning mode himself, which I could certainly understand. Eric also added that he regretted that when he was a she, that he did not come to terms with her gender identity sooner. Eric concluded, "The only regret I have is not being educated sooner about what transgenderism was, so I could do it sooner." This story is all over the mainstream media now. And just like I was mentioning from this particular summation of this report, it is so widely spread that I am currently sharing it with you, but it's also been on 60 Minutes in Australia. So if you would like to hear further interviews, read further details about this very odd, but for the most part, I see becoming a very normal part of Western society, then check this uploads information description area. Now, what I want to do is just put into focus a little bit about this family. Eric, who is married to Les, used to be Erica. So they were Erica and Les Mason, husband and wife. And the child that is now, the teenager that is also now involved in a transgender transformation is Corey Mason. Erica and Les Mason have a total of 5 children. And let me add, during the time I spent researching this particular story, I found out that this is very much in many search engines that pertain to transgenderism and families going through this type of transformation to balance itself for the new identities within the family. And let me also tell you that 60 Minutes in Australia, they have a Facebook page, and the Facebook page link will also be in this uploads description information area. And that's the place where you have to go if you want to watch different interviews about this family expressing and sharing the whole ordeal. All right, now, so let's check out the Instagram page from the mother and daughter, formerly, well, actually, it's the father and daughter now, which was formerly mother and son. And here are some of the comments on Instagram. We have It's Moni with WTF, Italia 429 OMG, haha, Aldul Rubuntu says, America has sick people. We Muslims will solve this soon. We are the fastest growing cohort in the USA. Bye freaks. Alexandra _Valet says, breaks my heart. Praying for you both. Darian Solaris says, it takes so much courage and bravery to live as your authentic self. Never let anyone dull your sparkle. Shawnee O'Hearn says, bravo, beautiful family, love. Boise Bus Chronicle says, amazing, proud of you both, much love. Acres Colleen says, I have a problem with this whole scenario, to be completely honest, but I really have a problem with the quote-unquote I used to wish I'd get cancer. How dare you? Malik says, the entire thing is ridiculous. Datu Doran says, mental illness clearly runs in families. Very sad. Eric Foster, 8329, says, girls will be boys and boys will be girls. It's a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world except for Lola. Lola, Lola, Lola. Lola, Lola. That's a popular song, I think, from the 80s. The refrain in the song. Carmilla 182 says, this is too much. Ron Whitingblot says, these kids should be taken away. These parents are freaks. Reformed Servant says, people nowadays are celebrating mental illness and calling it quote unquote beautiful. What is wrong with you people? This is sad. Nothing beautiful about it. Ella Hills Mythe says, we are celebrating mental illness, then throwing them in everyone's faces as the new normal. So, what are your thoughts about this topic? By the way, I wanted to ask you about your thoughts in reference to Erica, who was formerly Eric, and his or her husband, Les. I was thinking, now that Erica Mason has become Eric Mason, who is still married to Les Mason, Eric's husband, my question is this married couple, which was a heterosexual one, now considered a homosexual couple, even though Eric still has a vagina, but is still now a man? Because according to what has been said and all the research that I have shoveled through, Erica, who is transitioning to Eric, has only had a mastectomy. Eric has only had breast surgery, but Erica, who is now transitioning to Eric, has not had an operation to remove the vagina and install a penis. So would this couple be considered a homosexual couple or a heterosexual couple still? Or what would be the title for a couple of this nature, especially when one takes into consideration the forms that have to be filled out in order to register as a married couple, or when you apply for a job, or many other things that's going to be required from time to time? What do you think this couple's standing would be? Because I could find nothing in the interviews or the write-ups that pertain to the story that also answered those questions. Your comments are appreciated. My name is Pate, here on the Wild News Report. Thank you for stopping by.
When I was younger, I used to wish for cancer, so I would have to get a mastectomy.
Really?
Yes. I was sobbing uncontrollably, and he just hugged me, and I'm sorry. And I looked up at him, and I told him that I felt like I was a man trapped in a woman's body, and he said, I love you, and whatever we have to do to make this work, we will.
What was it like for you to hear those words?
Cried even harder, because it was completely unexpected. And not because he didn't love me, but because how do you ask a completely heterosexual man to still love you if you are now becoming a man? That's not fair.
Sorry. I wanted to make my parents proud of who I am, and I thought that they would not like me.
That must have been very frightening.
Sorry.
It's okay. So how did your parents react?
They were very supportive. They would always, like, make sure that I was happy. Make sure I was safe, too.
How did they have to protect you?
From the strangers out there that didn't like me, telling me I should go kill myself, and telling me that I shouldn't belong on this earth, you don't have a place.